It is 7 o'clock. I will now call to order the April 6th to Amity City Council meeting. Please rise and join me in the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Councilor Melissa Bojorquez. Yes. Present. Councilor Acie Dunlap. Here. Councilor Dyche. Here. Councilor Cody. Here. Councilor McArthur. President. Councilor Denis Saucier. And Mayor Mike. Wow. Mayor Richard. He's ready today. You're ready. We are no, we are all in on tour. We'll start off tonight with the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Consent agenda approved. Next, we'll move on to citizen comments and questions. This is an opportunity to present items not on the regular agenda. Please state your name and address and limit your comments to 2 minutes. And tonight we'll start out with the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office report in person.
It's nice to see you all in person finally. Been a while. For the month, also services, they were about the same, 147 and 15 case numbers. Of note, Deputy Summers wrapped up a multi-month investigation that resulted in 21 counts of sex abuse being lodged against somebody here down that's been harassing people for a while. So that was a pretty good investigation. We've been working on that for a while. There were multiple victims. It was nice to get exposure for that. There was a rash of thefts and burglaries kind of around town or near town of authorized lane. That resulted in the deputies writing a search warrant for residents here in town. That subject was arrested for burglary, for stealing cars, I think 2 different cars. So that investigation was wrapped up. The deputies are working on a ordinance issue off of Jellison with a complaint, a whole bunch of different complaints apparently on the house, but they achieved some compliance without having to issue citations, which is good. The trailer's gone, has been moved off. Deputy Summers contacted us just doing a heart check with a couple of people that looked like they were loitering and kind of doing nothing. Good. The male ended up having charges waiting for him out of Amity for DV. So he was arrested. Had a couple of DUIs, a bunch of traffic stops. They're doing a pretty good job of staying busy. So, does anybody have any questions or any issues that have popped up in the last month since I've seen you, where you want us to focus on for this next month?
Anything coming up to it? No.
Nothing?
No, just thank you. I'm always thankful. I see you guys out a lot at school, pick up and drop off, and I think that's really important. And then one thing that I've heard secondhand is that Nursery Street continues to be an issue for speeding. But other than that, I can't think of anything that really comes to mind. You guys are doing really well.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.
We'll keep paying attention to Nursery and some of the other streets. I know that they've been really focusing on, especially trade with the speed limit reduction. We can make sure that we're still taking care of Nursery as well. And I did see an email that the bridge is getting closed. Can you remind us when that's happening?
Oh, yes, the bridge will be closed the week of May 30th. That's the project kicks off May 30th. The bridge will be closed sometime that week, but just it may be closed on the 30th.
Are you guys going to need anything from us around that?
No, this should be an ODOT project. The notice for you is mainly for response time. If the deputy was here, they would have to go all the way around to get to the other side of the bridge.
We will, when that closure happens, we'll try to make sure if people are cutting shortcuts, if they're seeing it turn through the neighborhoods, getting frustrated, that they get now the detour sign. We don't want people tearing up to the neighborhood, since we'll try to get back soon. But other than that, it's nice to see everybody in person.
I did,
Yes, sir.
a resident did mention to me, you triggered it with Jellison, but when they come up that hill, they're going right through the stop sign. It's just on a very regular
On
basis.
Jellison? Okay. Do you know any particular time of day? We can focus on it in general, but if we know.
He said, he told me it didn't matter. So-
Okay.
And it's the same, he said it was the same vehicle and there's multiple trips throughout the day. So there may be some illegal activity going on.
All right, we will spend some time on that.
Is it the south end of Jellison or?
Yes.
South end.
I apologize, I don't have an address for
That's all
it.
right. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
Little due diligence. Okay. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So,
Next, we'll have a date report, please.
Karen Rainey, representing DIG. And geez, it's great to see a full city council and all the new people. And so the DIG is the Downtown Improvement Group, and we're just here to kind of facilitate, you know, helping with what we can do to make it feel better in town. So just had the Daffodil Festival, which I think was really fun to bring it back and to have people getting out and about again. And the Amity March of Daffodils is sort of how we rebranded it. So we have 4 weekends usually in March that I think we can maybe start getting other events going on that then DIG can do advertising in different ways, and you know, our poster about the March of Daffodils. And so I really see that you know, maybe we can get with the Art Harvest Tour and sort of get a spring fling of art and an art show. And it's hard to do just the daffodils and then the art, and it's really not big enough of a space. And I think it takes different people doing it too. You know, I like the flowers, but I'm not very good at the art. But you know, I could just really see an art show and a quilt show, and you know, maybe we can get in touch with those people that maybe want to do that as part of our March of Daffodils. So anyway, I got inspired, and I think it'll be fun to keep working on that. So we have our new Amity daffodil banners, and we have Shanna Rule, who had been lived here in Amity, and she had, well, these are recreations from the original daffodil banners that she did the artwork for. So we're, you know, thanking her for wanting to let us recreate them, and you know, they look really nice. So then I think the next project is that we're working on is the summer banners that would go, the ones going up after the high school banners. So those we want to offer sponsors to the businesses in town. So we got 35 banners. We think that's about how many there are when we include, like, I don't think we could not include, say, Keeler Estates and Deb Conrad, you know, and their businesses. And so even though they're not right in Amity, they are certainly a part of our community. So well, I think that made 37. So it seemed like we can offer it that way, and you know, all will be well on that. So that would be I guess, and also with working with the high school for their getting the hanging baskets planted too. So anyway, things are moving along. And boy, it was just for our daffodil day, it was just the cherry blossoms in bloom and the sun was shining. It was just really like, yep, good to get out. So that's the part I like to look at, sunshine. And so anyway.
Any questions?
Oh, I do have one comment as myself. So 112707 Southwest River Bend Road. And I'm just so disappointed in ODOT and closing that bridge. And I feel really disrespected. It's going to take 1.5 years to fix it, when I'm sure it didn't take that long to even build it in the first place. And in 3 months, we watched, you know, the 3 Mile Lane Bridge get built beside the old one so that there's never even a break in the traffic. And it just feels really like that is the main thoroughfare to the west out of town, and not only for cars, but bikes and, you know, the biking things. And it's not a good thing to be turning left up there on Whiteson to get around it. And I just, you know, feel really bad about that. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Really quickly, moving back to the Daffodil
Oh, yeah.
Festival, I was in an ACAP meeting last night, and they just were very thankful to be made a part of that and wanted me to let Dig know that in the future, they look forward to continuing.
Oh, yeah, and I think we made really great contacts with the middle school and the art teacher there. And, you know, Karen Fanning and I really looked over the artwork of what we had to get a t-shirt and get that sort of thing going so that we can get the cards, choosing different artwork. And so she had mentioned specific things like to have a darker color to, you know, show up on the white t-shirt in the background. And you know, and she's, you know, it's a Daffodil Festival, it has to be right, you know. And so anyway, just her comments. And so we looked over the art, and we weren't just right there, but, you know, we'll work with Mrs. Hatch at the middle school now on the art. And I think she's really getting into it now, the idea that, oh yeah, we better work on this. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we have other citizens' comments this evening or questions?
Is there anyone on?
Only Paul Bill. So.
No others, we can move on to old business. Item A is amend the municipal code, second reading of ordinance 673, road and weight restrictions in Amity.
Okay, this is the same ordinance you've seen a couple of times before. Since the first reading to the second reading, there have been no changes. No updates, nothing has been adapted to it. So it's, all intents and purposes, good to go for a vote as is. So the quick reading is the ordinance 673 to impose road weight restrictions and update the Amity Municipal Code.
A motion to approve ordinance 673. Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve ordinance 673 and impose weight and road restrictions on the existing list and Woodson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Thank you. That was our only item of old business for the evening. So moving on to new business, we have, excuse me, resolution 2022-02, child abuse awareness proclamation.
I have to admit, I don't actually have the full proclamation in front of me, but this is the annual Child Abuse Awareness Proclamation that we issue with Juliet's House. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. So we have the proclamation that is in front of you declaring our support for Juliet House, as well as their mission to reduce and eliminate child abuse over the course of time throughout the entire Danville County region and beyond. So
with that, I would ask for a motion, and if approved, I'll read the proclamation.
Motion to approve the child abuse proclamation resolution 2022-02.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. I'm gonna read this. Resolution 2022-02. Whereas child abuse is one of our nation's most serious public health problems, with scientific studies documenting the link between abuse of children and a wide range of medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral disorders. And whereas it is estimated that 1 in 4 children will suffer significant abuse before the age of 18, and annually over tens of thousands of Oregonian children, 78,632 in 2022, are reported to the Department of Human Services as having been abused or neglected, with 11,642 child abuse victims confirmed in 2022 alone, although many cases go unreported. And this was especially true during the COVID-19 pandemic, when children were isolated and away from the eyes of mandatory reporters. And whereas the physical, emotional, mental, and financial impact of abuse falls on children of all ages and abilities, who come from all economic, racial, and social backgrounds, and these crimes affect many more family members, friends, neighbors, and community. And whereas effective child abuse prevention efforts succeed because of partnerships created among state and local government agencies, schools, faith communities, civic and community organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community, while recognizing that feeling connected to community can be a protective factor against child abuse. And whereas Amity is dedicated to stopping child abuse and supporting survivors and their non-offending families while working to prevent it. Whereas each of us has a role to play in stopping the problem of child abuse as part of the solution by learning how to prevent, recognize, and report child abuse and supporting prevention, education, and empowerment programs for children and youth. Now, therefore, we, the City of Amity, do hereby proclaim April 2022 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month. We reaffirm Amity, Oregon's commitment to creating a safer, healthier, more thriving community for our children and taking steps to help prevent child abuse through awareness efforts, prevention, promotion, and trainings on responding responsibly. We encourage all citizens to wear blue every Friday in April 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th as a public statement in Amity in support of child abuse prevention. Further, we call upon all citizens to invest in the lives of children by learning what they can do to help stop child abuse through Juliet's House, a community resource, by visiting www.julietshouse.org. Done this day, April 6, 2022. And I'll also add, I had the privilege of being in my daughter's classroom when Juliet's House come in. They come to all the schools and do programs for kids. And it's really great, everything they do, and just that they're proactive and they put themselves out there and they reach out to everyone in the community to be like, let's all do our part. And I think that's wonderful. Our next order of new business is Amity Development Code change.
Okay. This one is somewhat familiar to you. Previously we had discussed a fence violation on a local property, and we noted that the Amity Development Code stated that the water could be shut off, and there was some other verbiage in the ordinance, the Amity Development Code, that was a little bit questionable. At the time we discussed possibly changing it. Council gave me at the time the guidance to start changing it. However, according to our own code, it must be actually done through a vote of council. And what we did last time was you agreed that yes, it could be rewritten to better outline things and that I should redraft the ordinance. However, there was no vote. So to make it official and to cross our T's and dot our I's, I request an official vote, please, to start this process. If you vote in approval today, we will have this in front of council, the Planning Commission on April 11th to start the process with them. And then back to you probably by, I'd say no later than July, depending on how we have to do the public hearing dates and any redress of the issue. So we'll see it back here soon. I'm open to questions. Sorry.
What were the big areas
So the current code states that the city may, in addition to other remedies provided by law, institute injunctions, mandates, abatement, and other appropriate proceedings to enjoin, abate, et cetera. It doesn't give a timeline for this action, so that was pretty vague. It also doesn't state what the appropriate proceedings and other basically citation measures would be, so that needed to be taken care of. It also, although it allows for the water shut off, and council at the time agreed that we should be allowed to shut off the water, it implies here that it can be done immediately, and council addressed that it should be done as a last resort. So the new code, as I've written it in draft form, and then will present to the planning commission upon your vote tonight, changes it to state that it will be done after a set period of time as determined by either the planning commission or council. That's how long they will have. It will also make water shut off the last resort, and then it will put violations and fines in accordance with the Amity municipal code, which sets it at like a $25 fine for up to a certain number of days. So it basically defines all the components as opposed to just leaving it vague.
I'm sure this is not a dangerous bill.
This is it. This is be for violations of our development code. For example, you put in this particular case, you put in a fence that is too high, too close to the property line. You install an addition to your house without the proper permits or something to that effect. You put in an addition to your home that isn't properly cited or planned. Then we have this as a recourse to enforce our development code. It just so happened that when we actually used it for the first time in recent memory here about 3 months ago, it turned out that we didn't actually have a lot of guidance as to how to go about enforcing the code. And our deputies asked us for more clarification. And then I came to council with that information during a work session.
Okay. I understand.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think Carl brought this up, that problem with fence indirectly.
Yes, sir.
The problem with fence that was brought to the council last meeting.
That's correct. So to answer that question, the individuals, the property owners and individuals, this was also something we put in the code, requested a court date to have the matter arbitrated before a municipal court judge, which is their right, but it wasn't spelled out in here. So we set that up. They will be in court next Wednesday, April 13th, to basically have the judge make a third-party independent ruling on whether they are truly in violation of the code. The reason being they read the code for fences differently than the city does. So with that disagreement, we don't have a resolution. So the judge will make the determination whether they are truly in violation of our ordinance, our development code.
All right, staying on that subject, since I got it into it. If let's say the judge goes for the plaintiff, in this case, and we change the code to where it's clearer, can we come back on that particular property owner, or can the judge say no, it stays until they move out?
The judge would make that determination. Our deputies are fairly cautious about going against a court edict. So if the judge says it's over and done with, they'll probably leave it alone. That's my best guess.
That's up to the judge.
Yes, sir. We have no ability to influence the judge in that matter.
Yeah, I understood that. I said it the way it is.
Yeah, right.
Because sometimes the judge will leave it where maybe he has to go with the existing code
Yes, sir.
in his mind. And then we change the code, he may leave it open and come back.
Right. We as a city can ask that question of the judge if he's willing to allow for re-prosecution of this, for lack of better words, if there is or recitation, I should say, be a more accurate statement, if the code changes and see what he says, but I can't make any predictions at this point, sir.
Because the way I understand it, as it stands right now, the complaint is the safety hazard.
Yes, sir.
So are there any other questions regarding the agenda item?
I just wondered if, I guess it's pretty much been answered. I didn't know if it was. So they're updating the ordinance based on this specific situation, just so that it's more clear.
What we are updating. Okay, I think I answered, if I understand your correction, you're the question, you're asking if we're changing the development code regarding the section on fences in particular.
Yeah, so it's a general ordinance for everybody, or this is what triggered the change.
That particular ordinance on fences is triggering this change in how we enforce our code. We are not at this time planning on changing the actual ordinances on fence height, perimeter, size, distance, et cetera, materials that we aren't planning on changing that at the moment. The planning commission, the deputies, myself, our planner, all seem to think that it's still a fairly accurate and worthwhile standard to uphold. It's just a matter of how we go about doing it, and that was the error, was in the actual enforcement of our ordinances. So this would actually give us the ability to better enforce all our current development code ordinances.
Yeah, so if I can quickly explain it another way or the
Yes, ma'am.
same way, is that this specific issue brought to light the fact that when things are brought to council and we need to enforce the code that we don't have the policy there to fairly and easily enforce what we have written. So the motion that is being asked for is to be able to rewrite it so that council is in a position to better and more clearly and accurately enforce as we hope to.
We're trying to put in the new code, the steps to enforce the actual steps, which is not in the old code.
That's correct, yes, sir.
So part of your comment is essentially looking at a statute of limitations, like if the judge rules in favor of this person, then, you know, the majority feels that's not an accurate or good judgment.
Mhm.
How do we proceed with addressing it in the future? You know, because if this person is allowed to keep whatever is in violation because the code isn't clear, then how do we?
So it is the city's, myself, the planner, and the deputies understanding that our code is fairly clear and they are clearly in violation. They read it differently, so I'm of the mindset that we will likely be, it'll be in our favor. If the judge rules in favor of the homeowner and says, no, the fence can stay, it will most likely be what they call an exception to code or an exception to policy. And then that kind of gets back to Councilor Dunlap's requirements of, if we change the fence standard later, can we go back and get them? Or if we change the fence standard for later, does that apply to other people? Or if somebody sees that now, can they change their fences around because we haven't enforced it? I don't think that would be the case. And in each particular situation, we could come back under the new enforcement policy that we're trying to go through those steps and take it back to the judge again with somebody else. So if person A gets excused or something, then maybe we go back with person B and the judge rules differently. That's about the best I can offer. So does that make sense? I hope. This is all kind of new to me,
I
so.
don't want to carry it on too far.
No.
I want to understand.
But I think Mayor King had a good accuracy that this gives us better steps to how we can enforce our code. It's just a little vague. So right now I just need a vote so that we can start that process, and pretty much the planning commission will hammer all that out with the details basically.
I move to approve the change to the Amity code and direct the city administrator to initiate the process. Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the change to the Amity code.
I make a motion. Change code, or rewrite it.
Okay, the motion's already been moved and seconded. So at this time, will all those in favor please signify by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Next in new business, we have appointment of budget committee members.
So before we begin the next new business items, I have to recuse myself, so I'll step away. I have a direct conflict of interest because I included the parties involved and one is my spouse. Thank you for your transparency.
Yes, thank you.
With that said, we have the budget committee members. I'm going to turn this a little bit over to Tasha.
So currently we have 5 vacancies for the coming budget and next year's budget. And we have 3 applicants that put in for it. And they're all through here. And I included their applications, so I wasn't sure if you guys have questions asked them.
You wanted to bring them, it's your call, ma'am, how you want to bring them up, in what order, if you want to ask some questions.
Does the council have questions for our applicants?
I guess my only question would be, do the applicants understand the time commitment needs, and that is a fairly long-term appointment? We have a lot of turnover. So it'd be nice to stop seeing the turnover. People stick with it for their term.
And this would be for this budget season and cycle and also the next.
As far as I understand it, yes.
That's right.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. So yes, it'd be for this one and for next year.
You guys are welcome to come up, or you can respond from there if you are aware and comfortable with the term.
I'm not really aware of what, well, I'm aware of the term, I don't know what the sort of ongoing time it is, it doesn't matter, but I guess.
Tasha, can you give a quick explanation of what the budget season looks like for members?
I printed off 3 calendars for you. So our first budget meeting will be May 11th at 6 o'clock. And then depending on if we need to have another meeting, if it's going really long, we can schedule another one. And that meeting would probably be, I would assume, the following Wednesday, which would be 18, right? Instead of your work session, we probably would have another budget meeting. So there for sure is one meeting, it probably would go usually about 3 hours. And then possibly another meeting if we need to. And a week before that, I'll give out the budget for you guys to look over the budget. That's pretty much it. I mean, unless there happens to, we need a third meeting, but that, knock on wood, since I've been there, it's never happened. So, but I have a calendar to kind of show you the process of what all is entailed with the budget.
And then it would just be getting back in touch and making yourself available at the next time, next year.
Yeah, it'll be around the same time.
Would you guys like to come up and quickly introduce yourself? We did get your applications, thank you, but if you just want to let us know your name and why you decided that.
Well, the applications came in a little bit close to past
I got it
deadline,
there.
and so thank you. My name is Rose Lorenzen. I've lived in Amity for 34 years. Raised kids and went all through Amity schools. I worked for the city of McMinnville as administrative assistant to the mayor, city council, city attorney, city manager, attended 24 budget committee meetings. So I'm pretty aware of time commitments, and I think that I'm guessing that you run your budget committee meetings very similarly to what I was used to with the city of Minville. So I don't have any questions. If you have any with me, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rose's husband, Richard. I was born and raised here in Amity. And looking forward to helping out if possible. I'm willing to commit to the time and whatever it takes. Anybody have any questions? This is new to me, so I'll be learning.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Sean Fitzgerald. I've been at Amity for about 2 years now. Just here to help out because there's clearly a great need for budget committee people. So yeah, I'm willing to commit to 2 years or longer, whatever it takes. Whatever is needed, I'm here to help.
Well, I'll just say regardless, I'm very happy for the application and the willingness. And then I don't know if we need 3 separate motions or,
You can do it all. If you want to appoint all 3, you can do it in one motion.
and I would ask for a motion.
Yeah, I have to approve Sean Fitzgerald, Rose Lorenzen, and Richard Lorenzen to Amity Budget Committee with the term commencing with budget 2022 to 2023 and ending with budget 2024 to 2025.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving Sean Fitzgerald, Rose Lorenzen, and Richard Lorenzen to the Amity Budget Committee with terms commencing with budget 2022-23 and ending with budget 2024-2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Thank you all for your willingness and commitment.
Welcome aboard.
We'll be seeing you again next month. And the last item of new business for the evening is planning commission.
Yes, so we've been with the departure and reappointment of one of our planning commissioners. We had a vacancy. We have sought a new applicant. We have one. The face is going to look fairly familiar. But the individual has offered himself to be appointed to the planning commission.
Sean, do you want to return back up to the grilling you with a lot of questions? No, thank you for the application. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to open up to council for any questions. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your reasoning for wanting to join the planning commission?
Well, more or less the same as the budget committee. It's neat. Try to help out.
Aaron, and we all saw your application, but can you remind us again of your history? and
Oh, history, yeah.
Qualifications?
Yeah, I'm a contractor in Greenville, so I'm pretty familiar with building codes and development and how all that works. Financial aspect of it as well. I'm no, I call myself an expert, but I definitely have some experience in that realm, so I'm sure it can be helpful.
And you're familiar with the time commitment and work involved with this as well?
Yeah, yes.
It's always important to make sure, you know, we appreciate everyone willing to come on and make this commitment. It's a volunteer thing. It takes time. So you just want to put it out there to make sure people know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Anything else from the council? I would ask for a motion.
I move to approve Sean Fitzgerald to the planning commission.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to appoint Sean Fitzgerald to the Amity Planning Commission to a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Welcome again. Welcome in another.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you very
opportunity.
much. We're happy to have you here. That was our last item of new business for tonight, and we'll move on to the department reports. We saw all of those in the packet. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to add for tonight?
Regarding my actual staff report, no, I have submitted it and will stand by for questions. I'm also open to questions for other things that weren't in my staff report if you have any. The tree is cleaned up. It was sawed up and it fell on Tuesday, and the windstorm was cut up yesterday and Monday, cut up yesterday, and it's already open for people to take.
Tasha, anything to add?
But I give out the flyer for our upcoming Thursday. Yes, we were originally gonna open it up to the community, however, they informed me that they didn't drive through this year, so we just want to remind you all that we are having a short day, and then, on the back of it is also, for the cleanup day. And that went out, that flyer went out to every utility bill last month.
So how can it, if council's able, how could they help with these events? Is that something we can just get in touch with you with our personal availability?
I don't think so much the shredded this year, only because it sounds like they're bringing a team in. But in the future, I would like to do like an Earth Day event, and then do like colorings. And we're having coloring contests right now, which we're hoping we could display everybody's pictures and have everybody vote on them. That's not gonna happen. For the cleanup, I would reach out to Gary to see if he needs any help. I know sometimes in the past, some councils have gone down to help out, or if there's people that can't get to it, volunteering to help with that stuff.
You gonna be there, Mike?
They'll be there. In the past, Mayor Kate has been there. You had shown up occasionally as counselor just to help. Then
As a tribute for my.
yeah, and then but the process is fairly straightforward. We would, if you show up on the cleanup day, we have the dumpsters already aligned. They're categorized for different stuff. Car pulls up. If it's a lot of stuff to keep the line moving, we'll help unload the car and throw it in a dumpster. If it's just a couple items, they can throw it in the dumpster themselves. And we just kind of keep them going through the process. If necessary, if somebody looks like they may be an out of towner, we can ask for ID or just make sure they're in there, but we haven't had anybody taking advantage of the system. And then last time, I drove the truck to one residence to help, elderly resident to help load up their stuff, and then we brought that back to the dumpsters, so.
Okay, I had plans, like I had taken that day, I was gonna, my husband and I be involved, and then I didn't know, anyone usually called ahead to ask the city to help them.
They
Is that
can,
sometimes?
yeah, they can, and that's, we will offer that up, and that's why I drove the truck out, that they said,
Okay.
we'd like to be able to do this, so.
We just keep a list and pass it on.
I was just gonna say, as you're able to keep me in the loop, because I do have that day available.
Last year with COVID, it was a little goofy, actually last year, but the one I did that was not COVID impacted, it was a pretty good turnout, and it's fairly quick. The cars go through fairly steadily, and I think we probably had about 100 people go through, so it's not overwhelming, it's manageable.
As far as going and picking stuff up for people, do we have a way to help people do it themselves, or there are some people out there that will use the system, you know?
the one person we had last year for COVID, it was just, they were elderly and they came out there and they were there and I drove the truck, picked them up and it was no problem. So,
I mean, we can try to do the fall.
Do you usually have a lot of big stuff or?
big stuff. Yeah, we've had people throw furniture, mattresses, large. I think the largest item we saw was somebody tried to unload like a full-blown used entertainment center system, shelving, cases, all that sort of stuff.
If we have, I have a 20-foot flatbed trailer. And I am less than 5 minutes from here.
Excellent.
I am expecting a bigger turnout this year since the landfill has closed, so I think a lot of people might be
If you
not
need
thinking
it,
about it.
Just take you, we'll keep you in mind, sir.
And then it's, like until filled, right? Whatever's been, okay.
And only the city residents, so they ask for driver's license or if they have a utility bill or something.
Yes.
Okay.
And then that'd be an area where counselor could just stand there and just read the driver's licenses or the utility bills if necessary. If you don't want to literally get your hands dirty. If you want to get your hands dirty, just bring a set of gloves and.
I also have, I think 4 dollies,
Okay.
2-wheel dollies at my disposal.
I think it sounds like just show up. If
Well,
anyone.
Yeah, I'll be at the start date, and I will be here at the start date, so I think it's gonna be kind of the same thing with kind of prep people before they get up to the bins and. I do want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
I just thought I would just give you guys a heads up. I am planning on having a movie in the park in June, probably right after school starts, a week maybe after.
And
A weekend, yeah, it's been a long day, a lot of number crunching today. So I will be reaching out to my community engagement, is that April? Who's community engagement now? Melissa and Acie, right? Okay. How we got a movie, and then I did a calendar of events for this next coming year, so you can kind of, everyone can kind of see, so we'll go over that too, probably have a work session or budget meeting plan next month, so it's heads up on that. Trying to get it more organized, so everyone is prepared for
We're
events.
only gonna do one movie in the park.
We're gonna do in the summer, yes, because then in August we do National Night Out, and then I would like to do a winter movie. So there's not a lot going on in the winter for kids, so I do an indoor movie in the winter, it's gonna be different.
Are we gonna do the June movie will be at the park?
Yeah, if you had one movie in the park and one movie in the community center in the winter. Kind of spread it out a little bit more. So I'll go over that in the calendar for you guys.
Alright, sounds good. And we got the library report. As Public Works, I don't have it in front of me, they referenced, paving that would be fencing, what?
It'd be a Jellison Street SCA, or Small Cities Allotment Grant Project.
Oh, that.
To do that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so will that be the curb crosswalk and paving, or just the paving that's happening now?
I would have to get back to you on that. I believe I don't want to speculate. I don't know, so I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, yeah, if I could get updated, is there any other paving plan outside of those projects? Or is it just pothole filling and like?
For now, it's pothole filling, and then our next SCA grant will be as dependent on what state routes to school grant we may obtain. So it'd either be a paving project tied to Church Street and potentially the RFB, or another paving project to finish the Jellison Street connection between the high school and the elementary school. So that's what those would be the big planning projects coming up in the near future. Oh, and additionally, I should mention, when we tear up Goucher for the water project, it will be kind of a partial, we'll repave what we basically tear up. So if we have the money left over, we could pave the whole street. Otherwise, we'll just patch and smooth what we destroy.
And just so council's aware, I've been working with Mike. We put in 2 Safe Routes to School grants. Both got pushed on to the second application. They're doing it first, moving on to second. The thing with the financial status of the city is we don't have money to go to paving unless we can link it with these other projects. And so while I know there's many spots that I could use the paving, really our way ahead is kind of getting it included with something else we can get funding for. But I'm always open to suggestions for, what might need looked at or focus as we're trying to get this funding. Any questions for the department reports? Okay, we'll move on to business from the mayor and councilors, good of the order. Council President Dyche, anything?
Just a reminder that the Easter egg hunt is coming up on the 16th. Coming up on the 16th at the park this year. The pancake breakfast has been set for the 24th of July. That's all.
Councilor McArthur? I've noticed the upgrades to the website on mobile.
You can actually read it?
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Very nice. It was, I've been seeing small changes to it today. I'm like, oh, this works.
It works
Thank you.
now.
Thank you so much.
I'm figuring out how to, Wix is weird, and all of our content is old, so it doesn't quite line up with their new format, and I'm trying to learn how to make it match.
It's going great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilor Bojorquez?
Mike's mentioned this before, but I noticed also in the reports that cameras still fall in the process. I saw that they had some working out details, so.
Any questions? Councilor Dunlap? Do you have anything for the good of the order? Okay. Councilor Saucier?
Couple of questions. There was some mention of cameras. And I don't recall because I'm coming in midstream.
Yeah.
Somebody had mentioned something about cameras. We want to put them in businesses. What was can somebody refresh my memory on that? Is there-
So I think that had to do with graffiti and abatement of issues. And so that's something that we'll be budgeting. During budgeting, we will talk about whether or not we put money forward to that.
Okay, I was talking with a alarm salesman that has worked with other cities. And he's aware of grants that are available for those kind of things. So if you'll question that and maybe have them.
Yeah, any information you could get, if you can pass it to Mike, he's really good at looking into things.
Yeah, I can do that. For further information, so the discussion was, how do we do abatement and what would be the options? So one of them was to either purchase cameras for local businesses or subsidize cameras for local businesses, or have the city buy and install our own cameras to try and get more coverage of the local community, to try and be proactive in catching all sorts of violations and crime or whatever. It was one of the discussion points which we didn't, I wouldn't say we didn't agree on, we just kind of determined we discussed it in the budget process.
So it's definitely a helpful thing, especially for the police force, if there's something that they need to look at. But yeah, not just graffiti, but there's a lot of things. If you want me to have them contact you.
Yes, please, I'd like that, I'd talk to them.
Well, and I'm thinking too, if nothing else, being able to share those grant opportunities directly with the business owners, then that passes the resource on to them whether to pursue it or not. But I
Yeah,
think
well,
that's-
I don't know if I'll just let them have the conversation. conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's fine.
Thank you.
One final point on that matter, we are going to propose in the budget an allotment of at least $5,000 or $6,000, $5,000 for graffiti and other blight abatement in the city. And it's just kind of a placeholder right now. We can discuss it more in the budget meetings themselves as to whether you want to use that to actually abate nuisances, like use it as Lafayette does to actually go into somebody's property and clear out their junk, or would you prefer to use it as like to help businesses paint over graffiti or something to that effect, or just leave it as a general pool of money that we can tap into for all sorts of abatement? We can have that discussion, but we are trying to set aside that money to just for that purpose.
Counselor Doyce?
I had one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The bridge,
Mhm.
and again, I'm coming into experience, I don't know that much about it. But I did pick up on her concern regarding how long it's gonna take. Is that a set in stone thing, or is this bridge?
We don't have any say in that. It's a ODOT project. It was on the state SIP. They've had the plan and the timeline in the works for 4 years. And they're moving through it. So as a city, I don't think there's any way
No.
we have a say. There's no.
We've been in their planning meetings. We've went to a couple in the last 2 weeks. They have work and water permit requirements as well as some other financial restraints that are causing them to execute the project as quickly as possible. And due to the, doesn't look like much of a bridge, but due to its location and where it's, the environment in which it is, the banks and the marshes, and you probably are familiar with a lot of these, and the different topographical features there. It's a more problematic bridge than 3 Mile Bridge over in McMinnville. So they've already hired a contract. They've set the scheduled date, May 30th of this year to 1 October of next year. It's done. It's just a matter now of getting, basically starting the project. I mean, they are full steam ahead on this one.
Now, it's going. Okay. I just have a few announcements and reminders. This Friday at 10:30, we'll be hosting the commissioner and others they're doing road safety tours. So just kind of touring around the county to look at problem areas, safety issues, where we might be looking for funding or need help in the future. So we'll be meeting here at City Hall at 10:30. You are all welcome to join. We're just gonna showcase 99 and where it meets Highway 153, so it really should probably not take more than half an hour. I was also made aware that Gary has a plan to show at least one counselor the water system and do a tour of that on April 12th. I don't know the time.
Noon.
At noon. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew they were invited to that. They wanted to jump on to the water tour. And then a last reminder that our meeting on the 20th will be a special council meeting instead of a work session. And so it will start at 7 o'clock, the normal council meeting time. That's all I have. That I'll ask for final motion of the night.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
There's been a motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes. Thank you all. And thank you to our audience and new members. It was nice to see everyone.